What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my breakdown of the new spring banners. So we did see Spring Veyle in the silhouette. So here she is as a Red Mage Cavalier. Now her Scowl niche definitely needed a bit of an upgrade and that's what she has gotten. So here she's going to be attacking Valentine Mer and it actually does take her quite a bit of hits to kill her off. So here she's got Gentle Fell Egg as her preferred weapon. This does give her minus in special cooldown and it also gives her plus 5 HP and visible plus 6 attack and resistance. So this does help with the resistance check of the Scowl skill that she has got. So it is going to be using her resistance for providing that kind of support. And this is going to be helping her with Crystalline Water because she is already protected against the debuffs and the panic on those two stats. So increasing it and attracting the debuffs away from the other allies also does make sense using this. And the extra HP is definitely not something that we have seen with the extra stats. So at sort of both player phase and enemy phase, she is going to be giving the 80% AoE damage reduction status, resonant blades and shields to herself and the allies in 2 spaces. So this is the same AoE damage reduction status from Goto. So she is going to be obviously better than Goto, and that kind of AoE damage reduction does help you quite a lot against Emblem Sigurd, and they're just trying to counter my boy, Emblem Sigurd. I mean, he is really powerful, but we have gotten, Stone Terrain of Attuned Hector on a save unit, and then we have gotten Duo Rhea recently, and now we have got this kind of modern unit that gives you the AoE damage reduction because Goto, doesn't really have the combat or the other support like this Veyle. So they are trying to help you against that, and we even saw them counter Emblem Celica Ring with the warp blocking of Higher Ground, Lower Ground, Barricade, and they even put it on a rearmed unit and then put that said rearmed unit in Divine Code 6 with the rearmed Nell. So this is going to be helping you tank better, and compared to a terrain, this cannot really get overwritten because if you face any kind of unit that has flame terrain or miasma terrain or even their own stone terrain, and if they don't die, they can just set up their own terrain and replace your stone terrain, and then you don't have the AoE damage reduction. But this kind of status is going to be staying with you, and it is going to be having the con of getting erased by the Duo Thor's button or Mythic Loki, but that's the trade-off basically between a terrain and the damage reduction from a status. And then if she initiates combat or if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, then she gets extra attack and resistance depending on 20% of her visible resistance. So this is going to be, around 14 to 16, I believe. And then she is also going to be getting the true damage based on 20% of her resistance, which is needed nowadays on pretty much any kind of unit. She also gets the guaranteed follow-up attack, and then if she has got more resistance than foe's resistance plus 10, then she gets the player phase brave effect. So we have seen this on Fallen Veyle, and she also has that. So this kind of brave effect is certainly strong because this is going to be helping you nuke better with the Lin Ring, and you then support your tank allies with all of the things that she has got going for her. And her resistance is ridiculously high. She has got base 48 resistance, then she has got the visible resistance from her weapon, and then Crystalline Water, and then you run the Sacred Seal. So there's a lot of resistance there, and that can certainly help you against the tanks that really rely on their resistance checks, like Duo Rhea, for example. But Veyle is not going to be that offensive with this weapon. It doesn't have as many offensive effects, but still does have some good ones with Brave Effect and the true damage. Then she has got Iceberg and Crystalline Water, which, as I explained, is needed for the resistance check. And then they have got an upgrade of Resonance for the Flyers and Cavaliers in attack resistance, Far Resound. So this has got counter remaining movement built in, and this is going to be minimum 1. So even if you run Lin Ring, you're able to retreat 1 space, and that's pretty much all you need. And it does have the resonance built in it, so you can get the 12 true damage and also up to like 60% damage reduction piercing. And that's why Veyle gets the extra HP out of her weapon, because they want you to run the Squad Sacred Seal to make her hit the 50 HP benchmark, which is gonna be the HP that you should be aiming for when running the skill, just like Resonance, because the 50 HP is gonna be giving you the max 12 true damage and also the max 60% piercing that you can get out of it. If you have lower HP, then you get lower true damage and lower piercing. I mean, you can still run it, but ideally it is, recommended. And then she has got Fell Majesty as her Slotsy skill. So this is going to be disabling any kind of Hexblade effect and also the AoE Hexblade effect. So, and she even disables that. So that is unique, I think. I don't think I've seen that before. So we did have, this kind of null Hexblade before, but not to the AoE from what I remember. Then she also debuffs the foe for -5 attack and resistance, and then she has got a Joint Drive effect. So she gets this to herself and also gives this to her allies in 2 spaces in the combat. So she gives out +5 attack, defense, and resistance to her allies in the combat, and now she also gives out the 7 flat damage reduction on the first attacks, just like Legendary Sakura, Sethith, Duo Rhea, Ronin. We have got a couple of units here that give out this kind of support, but not each and every one of those units can double down on the support fully, like Veyle or Sethith, who can run Breath of Life and Soaring Echo, and Legendary Sakura. So she gives that flat damage reduction, which is also helpful for the tanking. This is not the pierceable damage reduction, and you also get special cooldown +1 per attack. So this can help you retaliate back with the specials. And then she's got the Scowl effect, which Veyle is known for, and she can give this to her allies. And this effect, of course, is going to be using Veyle's resistance. If you have used Fallen Veyle or Mythic Veyle before, you already know. So that's why stacking up Veyle's resistance is important, because her resistance gets compared to the foe that your ally is going to be facing. So that's going to be the check. And then she's got the follow-up Scowl, only versus the range units for herself and the allies in 2 spaces, which is going to be meaning that you're going to be getting nuked hard by a lot of the melee nukes. She's mainly there to help you with the range nuking, and I mean, there is a lot of range nuking with Linring and Emblem Lin herself. So the follow-up Scowl can help you, and it is what Fallen Veyle is known for, and this Veyle basically improves upon that. But still, I think that Scowl is not the most coveted effect for the tanking at the moment, because, I did explain this in my Astro Mythic tier list a couple of months back, but basically, we've got a lot of special jumping, and the special jumping and pre-impulse effects that we do have sometimes do overflow, like, they already count the Scowl that they're going to be getting applied against. So they have more pre-impulses. You can even stack them. They completely stack up with many of the other units. And there's also the fact that, a lot of modern units have 2 layers, 2 instances of flat damage reduction in their weapon. The first layer is for any kind of regular hit, and then the second layer activates if you trigger an offensive special against them. Because of that, many times against these kinds of units that have these 2 layers of damage reduction, like Ashe, Nidhogre. I mean, Ashe also got that in her Refine, and then, Felix also has that, and that's why, he can be deceptively bulky, at least, when he came out. So the extra layer of flat damage reduction that punishes the enemy for triggering a special is not going to be having the best synergy with this kind of Scowl effect. And then we have got the Sturdy Beast, Armored Beacon, Dragon's Roar, and those kinds of specials that also give you the unpierceable damage reduction. On top of it, you also have the Twin effect, which can, give you another instance of that kind of damage reduction from your special. And then we have got Ike Ring. So as you can see, there are a lot of damage reduction in place against the specials. So many times, if you're tanky enough and if your opponent is not strong enough, then they might as well trigger their special, because you're going to be enabling the additional layer of flat damage reduction from your weapon. And that's why in the top tiers, you will be seeing a lot of units run Miracle. I even run it many times on Attune Micaiah. Rune is an easy user of Miracle, and Miracle basically helps you survive the Hardy Bearing far saves. So it not only helps you defensively, but offensively, you're not going to be triggering all of those effects of the enemies that have the extra layer trigger against your special, because Miracle is not an offensive special, so this kind of Scal effect doesn't do much against like a Ninja Lucina, who often runs Miracle, and she can easily try and charge it up because the Scal effect only works against the offensive specials. So that's the reason why it is not the most insane effect compared to a lot of the other tank effects that you can try and stack on your Omni tank. But still, Veyle does have the 7 flat damage reduction and the AoE damage reduction that she provides, and also the special cooldown. So at least, she is not just there for the Scowl. So that's the reason why, sometimes you now get punished for actually having an offensive special, and in many cases, running stuff like Miracle, even on your most offensive nuke, can help. And if you're running an offensive special, then you better have insane, nuking power like Attune Micaiah. And on top of it, you might as well run Astra, so your special should be doing insane damage. It cannot just do some damage. Otherwise, it's gonna be meaning nothing against this kind of extra layer of flat damage reduction, basically. And that's why, Miracle and Astra are the meta specials now on many of these nukes. You have seen me recommend them on a lot of the builds. So kind of crazy that these high cooldown specials are meta now. And then we have got Spring Eitr. So I hope they can rerun Eitr or give us more rearmed beast units, because we really need it with all of these beast skills. So this time she is a colorless beast, and she is going to be having a new preferred skill and also a preferred weapon, no longer Arcane Nihility. So now they can just give her an insane weapon. So Petal Dream Horn is going to be giving her -1 special cooldown, and she has got the Crux effect, which means that she affects the foe in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on her, and she debuffs them for -5 to all of their stats, and also inflicts the guard on them, which can help, but any kind of modern unit or refine is going to be having some kind of null guard or like tempo. So guard is not the best effect nowadays to have, but she also gives another support, which is extremely unique in foe buff stealer. So I believe first saw this on the binding necklace of Freya. She brought this into the game. So basically it steals the buffs of the enemies and debuffs them for all of the buffs that they've got, and instead gives you the extra stats in the combat depending on the buffs that they've got on each stat. So basically you're stealing the buffs of the enemy, and this is really nice nowadays because many of the modern units, modern refines, do have these easy baked visible buffs in their weapons and skills, so they cannot turn it off. You cannot, make them not give out those buffs to themselves or the other allies, which means that you're going to be getting this debuff against them, this effect against them. So it is going to be a pretty unique effect that can help you many times, and especially in the game modes where you're going to be seeing a lot of visible buffs and these modern units, this kind of effect is going to be helpful. And then at sort of combat, if her HP is at or above 25%, then she can get up to +9 to all of her stats, depending on the foes in that 3 rows and 3 column range. And she also gets true damage based on 20% of her speed, not going to be getting added to the AoE specials, unfortunately. And she also has the flat damage reduction on her first attack, based on 20% of her speed in the combat. So this is the flat damage reduction, and I believe Neon Nerthus was the first unit to have the speed-based damage reduction. So I do like the parallels here. And then she heals up 7 HP after the combat, and she has got the Cavalry Beast transformation, giving her the 30% pierceable damage reduction and up to -6 attack and defense debuff. So it is going to be a nice supported weapon, not the most insane when it comes to the combat though. And then she's got Nimble Beast, which is going to be helping her get some unpierceable damage reduction. We have seen this on Resvelger. And then she's got Nihility's Undoing, and that's like a baby goat in her skill icon, which is kind of cute. So this has got the Fortune Easy transformation, and this can give you up to +11 to your stats, and it also has the Excel style damage reduction. So again, what I was talking before, you have 2 instances of flat damage reduction, one against the regular hits and then against the specials. So this is going to be counting the spaces moved, and that's why I say this is the Excel style damage reduction. And then she's also going to be able to get +1 special cooldown per attack, and this is going to be helping her trigger her Nimble Beast. And then she is also going to be having the 50% passive damage reduction piercing, so she does not need Bestial Assault. And speaking of Bestial Assault, now we have got Bestial Agility, which is basically the same skill as Bestial Assault of Neo Restvelger, but the only difference is that you trade the damage reduction piercing for the full null follow-up effect. That's basically it. I still think that Bestial Assault is a bit better because a lot of the beast units are going to be wanting to run Sturdy Beast, Nimble Beast, so I see the piercing more valuable as you can try and have other skills with null follow-up or have the null follow-up support. So the piercing can help you, as a lot of the times you're not going to be running Fierce Beast on these kinds of units if they're fast or slow, depending on the Sturdy or Nimble Beast special. And this also gives you the Canto remaining +1 movement, minimum 2, so it does give the Canto, which is pretty nice for freeing up your ring from running Sigurd Ring. The skill is also versatile like Bestial Assault because this is going to be giving you the true damage based on 20% of your higher speed or defense, so this could even be run on the slower units. But I mean, obviously the slower units are not going to be able to take the advantage of the speed-based null follow-up that this skill has got. So that's why I said that, I kind of like Bestial Assault a bit more. She doesn't really have a Slotsy skill. There are definitely a lot of options, going to be going over that in the banner review. But yeah, Eitr is going to be having unique foe buff stealer Crux effect, which I think is probably the best part of her entire kit. Everything else is something that we have seen before, but still, she can be bulky with the Excel style damage reduction and her weapon, so she's not going to be dying all that easily. And then we have got Spring Mae as the alt, which a lot of people wanted. I also wanted it, and she's finally gotten this. Maybe Resplendent Mae will happen because Shermie Lee probably recorded the lines for the Resplendent version as well. So here she is, a green infantry mage, and she is going to be the 4-star focus, so you can summon her a bit easily, and she does give you magical null follow-up at 5 stars, so that is pretty nice. But still, there is a bit of competition with the Tempo 4 skills and Resonance and the other true damage skills like even Occultist Strike in some instances. And she has got Spring Air Egg Plus as the inedible green tome, and this has got the Omni Crux effect built in, which debuffs the enemies in the 3-row and 3-column range for -5 to all of their stats. And this also has the defensive tempo or the null special charges. So basically, the enemy is not going to be able to charge up their specials using Special Fighter, Flash Sparrow, any of these special charging effects basically that give you extra charges on your hits. So this is something that we saw on Dusel's Weapon Refined, so not a lot of units give out this kind of defensive tempo effect, but this is present on an inedible weapon, so this is going to be a nice supportive effect. And you can run this on a flyer and then stack it up with any kind of Crux effect in the Slotsy, and then run Soaring Echo and double down on the support. And this weapon also gives you +20 true damage at max, so it is going to be counting the number of foes in 3 spaces of the target. It is not going to be having this damage for the AoE specials, and it also counts the target itself, so the ceiling of the true damage is not as high as Devoted Cup Plus of Valentia and Hubert, but still this is a lot of true damage. But still, I do think that Arcane Truth Fire is going to be a bit of a better weapon because of the sheer stats it gives and the effects that it has got. It also has the special jump or the pre-impulse, and it also gives that to the AoE special, so it does have its usage. But if you cannot have access to that weapon, then this is basically the best inheritable green tome, and this is going to be also supportive in nature, so it does both of the jobs, and this is an amazing thing to get on a 4-star focus. And she does have attack speed 03, so ideally you want to try and stack up her attack, and she does have high base attack at 48 with a super boon, so she is going to be hurting quite badly with her big Hurty Lightning, I think it was. So you gotta have that, and then focus on a resistance as well, which is base 41. And then finally we have got the start of the banner in Spring Plumeria. So she is here with Olivia as a Lance Flyer, and being a Lance Flyer as a dancer is actually pretty important because she is not a ranged unit, which means that she's not susceptible to the Kanto control, and she doesn't really need the support of Legendary Sakura to at least not get completely stopped by Kanto controls. So at least she's going to be having some Kanto even if she gets affected by it, and she can easily try and go in there. And Kanto is a big thing with this ult. So here she has got Springing Spear as her perfect weapon. This does give her Kanto remaining +1 movement, minimum 2, and this also gives her +3 resistance. She's mainly going to be there to support with her resistance and all of her effects, but she does have base 45 attack. And on serve turn, she gives the Kanto 1 status to the allies in 2 spaces of her. And for the allies in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on her, she gives them the +5 attack, defense, and resistance in combat, and also 10 true damage. 10 true damage passively as a dancer, and on top of it, she also gives preempt pulse effect. So this is an amazing supportive effect for any kind of nuke, because we do not have a lot of units that give you this kind of true damage passively, and she is a dancer that gives this in 3 rows and 3 columns, so it's not even like 2 spaces, 3 spaces, or anything like that. So you could be far away from her and you'll still get the true damage, and that is powerful because you can try and combine this with Desert Marissa, who also gives you the Brave effect, so you can hit really hard when you quad attack someone and you get the 10 true damage per hit. And the reason why I mentioned this is because nowadays, ideally for a nuking, you can even try and use your favorites with the skills and the weapons that give you this kind of true damage. So Devoted Cup Plus is the best blue inedible tome right now because of the fact that it can give you up to +25 true damage per hit. So the ceiling of it is really high. And then you combine this with Sly skills and then Resonance for the piercing. And then if you have the high resistance, you could also run the Ploy scale. And the Pulse of Ploy is a really good effect because you could try and have a pre-charge special. And then you can run Spring Plumeria, who gives you the +10 true damage. And you stack that up. So even an old unit like Mae here, the old Mae, can also get 62 true damage per hit, which is quite a lot. And then, of course, you combine this with Legendary Sakura, so you get even more true damage. Festival Nefni also gives you true damage on your special triggers, so that is another source. But mostly you're going to be preferring to run Plumeria or Sakura because of how much support they provide. And then, like I said, you try and abuse the fact that you have got so much true damage per hit by having the Brave and Quad support. And that's why you can run stuff like Miracle, because you have a lot of damage output, so you could afford to not have a special, and then try and survive the Hardy Bearing Far Saviors maybe. And you can even try and run other supports like Lurathor, who lets you snipe anyone with the Force Assigned Decoy, Ninja Lucina, who can inflict the middle of the turn exposure status for the true damage stacking. So even if it gets cleansed, you can apply it. And then she also gives you the Future Witness and also the Detect, Ludspeed Defense, the Special Charge support. Ymir has come back into the meta because she provides you with the Miracle and Cleansing, and of course Embla and Rearm Layla are insane for their undefended status. Mainly Layla as well, because she also inflicts the Flash status, so the enemy can be a sitting duck and then you can just snipe them, quad attack them. Now this is a lot of big number with the true damage, but keep in mind that the highest tier units, the best units in the game, the modern units also have the big numbers with their flat damage reduction. They can easily go upwards of like 50 flat damage reduction. Even like Ashe, who just got a refined, and she's a free-to-play unit that everyone can have from the story, she can get upwards of 50 flat damage reduction. So that is the reason why you need to stack up this much true damage, because the opponent also has the big numbers defensively. Then Plumeria also has the in-combat effects, so she is going to be no slouch in the combat because she also gets -19 attack and defense debuff roughly with her weapon. She also gets 10 true damage for herself and 10 flat damage reduction. So she is not frail with that, 34 base defense and 49 resistance with these many attack debuffs. And then she's got follow-up denial for a good measure. In case you do not have any kind of guaranteed follow-up attack or null follow-up, then you're not going to be able to double her, and she's going to be living, and she is going to be having her preferred dance in Dreamlike Night. So this is going to be refreshing an ally, and not only they're going to be refreshing their action, but it is also going to be refreshing their Canto, which is insane. Now we have had these kinds of skills which re-enable or refresh your Canto usage, of course, but Plumeria just does it to anyone, or distant traveled Canto basically. So imagine Emblem Sigurd, and in Summoner Duels, you know that he's going to be coming across the map if you don't have any kind of ice stealth or anything to, stop him. And he's going to be coming across the map. He's going to be hitting you with the AoE special, and you're going to be able to live that with, AoE damage reduction of Veyle, who you maybe got this from this banner, or the Stone Terrain of Attuned Hector. But then the Emblem Sigurd gets another action, and he can run away to his allies. So he can use that extra action as a retreat. And then Plumeria dances that Emblem Sigurd, and now he has again got his full Canto. So he can retreat again with his weapons Canto if they're able to kill your Canto control unit. Of course, he's not going to be getting another action twice in a single turn, but still, you can see the flexibility of it. The fact that your insane Cantos get refreshed. So this is really good for nuking, and this is also good for tanking because it debuffs the enemies that are the closest to the target ally and any kind of foe that is in two spaces of them for -7 attack, defense, and resistance debuff, and the frozen status which he applies on them. And keep in mind that this is the middle of the turn frozen status, so this is not getting cleansed by Freyr or something like that, compared to Pyre Tibarn or Summer Reed's frozen status that they inflict at start of the turn. And she also inflicts the Sabotage status, which is definitely one of the better status effects because it is consistently useful with the debuffs that you can try and do, and it does help with the stat swings basically. So she is amazing with the support for the nuking, for the tanking, but of course a dancer inherently, I would argue, is offensive in nature and requires you to run many of the offensive units, so you can get the extra action and take the full advantage of the refreshing. But even if you're tanking, you are still going to be getting the frozen status, which is going to be making it harder for the enemy to double you, and you can double yourself easily. So the high defense, high speed units do get an advantage here, not only in terms of tanking, but also in terms of nuking as well, because she can give you a lot of other effects as well. So I do think that she is basically the best dancer in the game. I don't think any kind of dancer comes close to her. There's a pretty big gap, in my opinion, between her and the second dancer or the third dancer. So Plumeria is far ahead because of her effects. Like, she refreshes your Canto. There's just no comparison, honestly. She also gives you 10 true damage. And because she has got the bulk, she is going to be having Stronghold. Finally, they're giving the skill to some other unit than Eitr, and she comes with Defense Rest Discord, so she is going to be focusing on debuffing the enemy. She doesn't really have the Hexblade effect, but I guess this is a reference to how she gives that out with her Mythic version. So I do like this. And then they have got Shadow Smite, which is an incredible offensive tool because it is Shadow Shift, but instead of having the reposition built in it, it instead smites your ally. And this is amazing because you are able to move forward your allies, send them in the enemy lines, which can be really helpful in Ether raids with the high mobility units that we have got nowadays, with the warping we have got nowadays, and even the past nukes that we have got nowadays. So it is quite incredible. And you also get to test out the traps by smiting your unit into the trap. So this can give you a lot of action economy basically, and in that single action you can do multiple things. Of course, because she's a flyer, you could just replace this and run, Soaring Guidance, because you're not able to run Soaring Echo with a preferred dance of hers. So you can have the flexibility, you can run the warping skill, or if you run into a lot of warp blocking, then you can run Shadow Smite or, other flying skills that you could try and run on her. So she is going to be having amazing support, and before her, I would say that Attuned Azura was the best dancer in my opinion. I mean, still, it's just my opinion. The dancer's utility can change depending on, the team that you've got. But overall, in grand scheme of things, I thought, Attuned Azura gave you the null follow-up, the extra movement stats. She also herself had amazing reach as a Cavalier. She had the amazing Kanto. She could use the Shadow Shift really well. And now here we have got Plumeria, who can also do it, but she's a flyer, and she also refreshes your Kanto. So as I said, the gap between the two dancers, I feel like the top two dancers that I would probably put is a bit big, with Plumeria just absolutely crushing it as a dancer. So I do like Plumeria as a character. I'm pretty happy that she's here, but it is going to be a bit hard to justify pulling for her, in March. And if that was not enough, she has got an harmonic skill that can give the Resonance Blades effect to heroes and awakening allies. Nobody cares about that, but she gets another action if she's not entered the combat in that turn. And, if her Kanto is triggered, it also refreshes it. So usually we see the extra action on these units in their duo buttons if they have entered the combat, but for Plumeria it is the opposite. She's not supposed to enter the combat if you want to get this extra action, and I mean, I don't need to tell you how insane this is for the usage in game modes like Summoner Duels, or even like casual game modes like Rooker Siege that may happen once a year. You already know how Duopini makes you turn one the map. So this is amazing on a dancer. It has always been since the days of Duopini, Harmonic Azura, and here it is on a really insane dancer. So I'm quite impressed with Plumeria, honestly, and I do love the player phase strategies, and she is everything that you could ask for any dancer. And no other dancer does the things that she does. And then we do have Spring Lon'qu appearing as the Tempest Trial Grail unit, and this time he is an Axe Infantry unit. I am going to be having his full review, hopefully, and if I'm not able to, he is going to be in the banner review. I know I'm lagging a bit with my backlog, but I am trying my best to complete all of them, and I'm not going to be skipping anything that I have not been able to upload. I'm certainly going to be uploading them, every last one of them. It's just that it's going to be taking me a bit of time. So I do appreciate the patience, and I have explained, the things before in the comments and also on my Twitter. So I am going to be uploading, but I'm not going to be compromising the quality and just rushing them and uploading them for the, sake of completion and just sake of uploading them, just for namesake. And here Lon'qu is going to be having 199 BSC. Kind of hard to compete with Panette, honestly, in the real pool as an Axe Infantry unit. But being a big Lon'qu fan, I'm really happy, and he can certainly make use of a lot of the tools that we've got. We do have Arcane Giant Axe, so while he's not that unique in terms of a preferred weapon, he is workable with his stats if you like him, like me, and he does have a super boon in speed, and the new Sacred Seals that he brings with his Tempest Trial are Attack Speed Finish Sacred Seal and Defense Res 03. And it is amazing with all of the finished seals that we have got. And these are some of the better Sacred Seals that you can have in the game, because they do give you the true damage. And as I mentioned in my video before, true damage is important for getting rid of these snakes with a lot of flat damage reduction. So these seals do help. So on this banner, Plumeria has got amazing value, and Mae also has good fodder that you could try and use if you do not have a lot of Arcane Truth Fires to give to a lot of your green mages. This is a pretty nice weapon, but like I said, it is kind of hard to justify pulling on this banner in the month of March, where we're going to be getting a Hero Rises banner, and we're also going to be getting an Emblem Hero at the end of the month. And in that Emblem Hero banner, there are also 5 emblems present there. So it is going to be really high value So a lot of people are probably going to be saving their orbs, but if you're going to be spending on this banner, then you're going to be leaving with the supportive units and their supportive effects, the crux effects basically, and the insane dance of Plumeria. So next up, I'm going to be covering the weapon refines, and I want to thank all of my team members for their constant support. You can click the link on the screen right now to check out my Binding Worlds guide, which I did make. It's a very comprehensive video, and you can also subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the enemy units that are in 3 rows and 3 columns of these units. So that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.